Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are planning to apply for Canadian citizenship, one of the most important parts of your application is the physical presence calculation. Many people are eligible in every other way, but they get confused when it comes to counting their days correctly. And let me tell you something very important. This is not a small session you can guess. If your days are calculated incorrectly, your application can be delayed, questioned, or even returned. So, in today's video session, I'm going to explain everything you need to know about the physical presence calculator in a very simple step by step way. By the end of this video, you will understand what the physical presence calculator is, who needs it, how the 1095-day rule works, how temporary resident time is counted, how to count absences correctly, common mistakes people make, and how to complete this part with confidence before applying for Canadian citizenship. So stay with me until the end because this video can save you from costly mistakes. Let's begin. First, let's understand the basic concept about what is a physical presence calculator. The physical presence calculator is the tool used to determine whether you have spent enough time physically in Canada to qualify for citizenship. IRCC recommends using the online calculator, printing the completed calculation, and including that printout with your application. For most adult applicants, the main rule is this: you must have been physically present in Canada for at least 1095 days, which is equal to 3 years, during the 5 years immediately before the date you sign your citizenship application. This means IRCC does not simply ask, how long have you lived in Canada in total? Instead, they ask, how many days were you actually physically in Canada during the 5 year eligibility period before you signed the application? That difference is extremely important because some people think I became a permanent resident 4 years ago, so I should be eligible. Not necessarily. IRCC is looking at actual physical presence inside Canada, not just the number of years since you got PR status. So, if you had long trips outside Canada, work travel vacations, family visits abroad, or other absences, those days can affect your total. That is why the physical presence calculator matters so much. Now, let's break down the 5 year eligibility period in very simple words. IRCC says your eligibility period is the 5 years before the date you sign your application. So imagine you sign your citizenship application on March 30, 2026. Then your 5 year eligibility period would go back approximately to March 30, 2021. IRCC will examine that 5 year window and count how many days you were physically present in Canada during that period. This is why the date you sign the application matters. If you sign earlier, you may have a fewer eligible days. If you wait longer, you may gain more eligible days. That is why some people wait a few extra weeks or months before applying just to build a stronger buffer. And that is actually wise because IRCC also encourages applicants to apply with more than the minimum 1095 days in case there are mistakes in the calculation or issues with absences. So, here is an important tip: do not aim for exactly 1095 if you can avoid it. Try to have extra days as a safety margin because one forgotten trip, one wrong date, or one misunderstood absence can bring your total below the minimum. Now, let's focus on the core requirement, which is basic rule: 1095 days in Canada. For citizenship, you generally need at least 1095 days of physical presence in Canada within the 5 year eligibility period. That is the main number to remember. Now, the next question is, what exactly counts as a day? A day counts when you are physically in Canada. If you are outside Canada, that day may become an absence, depending on your travel dates and circumstances. Also, in citizenship calculations, the focus is on calendar days and your actual location. This is where many people get confused because they think, I only left for part of the day, or my flight was at night, or I was in transit. The safest approach is to carefully follow your travel records and report absences accurately in the calculator. Another important rule IRCC states is that the 5 year eligibility period must include at least 730 days as a permanent resident. So, yes, Some pre-PR time can help in certain cases, but you still need enough time as a permanent resident too. This is very important detail that many applicants overlook. So, let me summarize this part clearly. To qualify, you generally need 1095 total days of physical presence within the 5 years before signing, and the 5-year period must include at least 730 days as a permanent resident. This is the foundation of the whole calculator. Now, let's answer one of the most common questions. Can time before becoming a permanent resident count towards citizenship? Yes. In some cases, it can. IRCC says that each day you were physically present in Canada as a temporary resident or protected person during the 5-year eligibility period can count as half a day toward your physical presence requirement, but there is a maximum credit of 365 days. This means one day in Canada before PR equals zero point 0.5 day credit, but only up to a maximum of 365 days of credit total. Who might benefit from this? People who lived in Canada before PR as international students, workers on valid permits, visitors with legal status in situations recognized by IRCC, or protected persons. Let's make this easy with an example. Suppose someone lived in Canada for 2 years before PR with valid temporary resident status. That is about 730 calendar days. But because pre PR time counts as half days, those 730 days would equal 365 days of citizenship credit, which is also the maximum allowed. So even if a person had more than 2 years in Canada before PR, they still cannot get more than 365 days of pre PR credit. This is a very important cap. So remember this simple formula. Pre PR time can help, but only half day credit and only up to 365 days maximum. Now, let's talk about time that may not count. IRCC states that the eligibility period does not include time in prison, on parole, or probation, on time spent waiting for a decision on a refugee claim. So, if any of these situations apply, they can affect the calculation and eligibility. For most viewers, this may not apply, but it is still important to know because the calculator is not just about counting trips, it is about correctly representing your legal and physical presence situation. So, when you use the calculator, you must be honest, accurate, and complete. This is not a section where you should estimate casually. Use official travel records, passport stamps, old tickets, emails, CBSA travel history if needed, work records, school records, or your own travel journal to verify dates. IRCC specifically says that the travel journal is for your personal use to help complete the physical presence calculation, and you do not need to submit the travel journal itself with the application. That means the journal is your sport tool, but the official thing you submit is the calculator printout. Now let's discuss about how to think about absences. This is where many applicants make mistakes. So let's slow down and explain absences properly. When you use the physical presence calculator, you will need to enter the periods where you were outside Canada. That includes many common situations such as vacations, family visits, business trips, emergency travel, study abroad, or any other trip outside Canada. Here is the safest advice. Do not rely only on memory because many people forget short trips. Maybe you crossed the border for a day trip, maybe you went to the US for shopping, maybe you traveled for a weekend and forget about it, maybe your passport was renewed and all the stamps are missing. All of these can cause errors. So before using the calculator, prepare your information. Make a list of all trips outside Canada during the 5-year period, departure date, return date, destination, and purpose if you want to keep organized notes for yourself. Even if the calculator only asks for specific details, it is helpful for you to keep a clean record. Now, here is the mindset you should have. Every absence matters. Even short trips matter. Even one day or weekend travel can matter. The more accurate you are, the stronger and safer your application becomes. Before you open the calculator, I recommend doing some preparation first. Here is a simple step by step method. Step 1. Decide your intended application signing date. Because the 5-year eligibility period is counted backward from the date you sign the application first, decide approximately when you want to apply. Step 2. Count backward 5 years. That becomes your eligibility window. Step 3. Gather your travel history. Use passports, boarding passes, email confirmations, calendar history, work travel records, school records, border crossing records, or your own notes. Step 4. Separate pre PR and post PR time. This is very important because pre PR time may count differently at half day value, while time after becoming a permanent resident generally counts day for day if you were physically in Canada. Step 5. Check whether you have a buffer. If you are barely at 1095, it may be smarter to wait and gain extra days before applying. IRCC encourages applying with more than the bare minimum to account for possible miscalculations. Step 6. Use the online calculator carefully. IRCC recommends the online calculator for paper applications as the preferred option. Step 7. Print the result. After completing the calculator, print the result and include it in your application package. This preparation can make the actual calculator process much easier and much less stressful. Now, let's do a simple example. And note, this is just a simple teaching example to help you understand the logic. Let's say someone wants to sign their application on March 30, 2026. Their 5-year eligibility period would roughly be from March 30, 2021 to March 30, 2026. Suppose this person lived in Canada as a worker from April 2021 to April 2022, become a permanent resident in May 2022, and then lived in Canada continuously except for some trips abroad. Let's imagine pre-PR period from April 2021 to April 2022 equals about 365 days in Canada as a temporary resident. Since pre-PR time counts as half days, that could give around 182.5 days of credit. Post-PR period from May 2022 to March 2026, let's say they had one 20-day trip abroad, one 30-day trip abroad, and two short trips totaling 10 days. Total absences after PR equal 60 days. If the total post PR calendar time in that period was, for example, 1430 days, then physical presence after subtracting absences would be about 1370 days. Then add the pre PR credit of 182.5 days. That would put the person well above 1095 days. Again, this is just a simple simplified teaching example, but it shows you how the system works. Pre-PR time may help. Post-PR presence counts strongly. Absences reduce your total and accurate dates matter. Now, let me give you an important practical message. Do not do your final citizenship decision based only on rough math from a video. Always confirm your own exact dates through the official calculator. Now, let's talk about the mistakes that cause problems. Mistake 1. Applying exactly at 1095 with no buffer. This is risky. If you forgot even one short trip, your total may fall below the requirement. IRCC itself encourages applying with more than the minimum. Mistake 2. Forgetting short trips. Day trips, weekend trips, and quick border crossing are often forgotten. Mistake 3. Confusing PR date and eligibility date. Some people think citizenship is simply based on how long ago they got PR. That is not enough. The real issue is physical presence inside Canada during the 5-year eligibility period. Mistake 4. Counting pre PR time incorrectly. Pre PR time is generally counted as half days, not full days. and only up to a maximum of 365 days of credit. Mistake 5. Not printing the calculation. IRCC says you must complete and submit the printout of your online physical presence calculation with the application. Mistake 6. Using guesswork. Never guess travel dates if you can verify them. Mistake 7. Not updating the calculation if circumstances change. If your application is returned and something changed in your physical presence meanwhile, IRCC says the calculation must be updated before resubmitting. These mistakes are avoidable, and that is why understanding the calculator is so important. There is also a special point some people ask about. Can any time outside Canada count toward the physical presence requirement? In limited situation, yes. IRCC says certain time spent outside Canada may count if, for example, you were a permanent resident employed outside Canada in or with the Canadian Armed Forces, federal, public administration, or public service of a province or territory, or if you lived outside Canada with a qualifying spouse, common law partner, or parent connected to such service. This is a specialized situation and it does not apply to most applicants. So, for the majority of people, the simple rule remains days outside Canada usually reduce your physical presence total. But I mention this because some viewers may fall into one of these exceptions and should look carefully at the official IRCC rules. Now, let's talk about best practices. If you are close to applying, here is what I recommend. First, gather all your dates before opening the calculator. Second, double check every absence. Third, do not rush the signing date. Remember, the 5-year period is counted backward from the date you sign. Fourth, apply with extra days if possible. A safety margin can protect you from honest mistakes. Fifth, use the official online calculator whenever possible since IRCC recommends it. Sixth, print the result and keep a copy for yourself. Seventh, make sure all parts of your application are consistent. Your travel history, addresses, work history, and physical presence details should not contradict one another. Consistency builds credibility, accuracy builds confidence, and a well prepared application usually avoids unnecessary stress later. Let's quickly recap everything we covered today. For Canadian citizenship, most applicants need 1095 days of physical presence in the 5 years before signing the application. Important points. Prepare time may count as half days. Up to a maximum of 365 days credit, you still need enough time as a permanent resident. Absences outside Canada matter. Short trips matter too. The online physical presence calculator is the recommended method, and you should print and include the calculation with your application. And most importantly, do not guess, do not rush, and do not apply right on the edge unless you're absolutely sure. Now let's take a very simple example so you can understand how to fill the physical presence calculator step by step. First, open the official physical presence calculator on canada.ca. So first I'm going to type canada.ca here. So we are on the canada.ca website now. Just click on English and then just type in here physical presence calculator. Okay. If you want to directly use the calculator, you can directly click here, physical presence calculator. And then just scroll down, click here, start calculation. And then here first, you need to enter the date when you are going to sign the application. I'm going to take the example as of today, April 2nd, 2026. So I'm going to enter today's date here. And then you need to enter the date you became a permanent resident. For example, I'm going to consider here April 2nd, 2023. So I'm just going to use this and April 2nd. here. Click calculate. Now on the next step, it is going to ask you, did you have Canadian temporary resident status, for example, visitor, international student, temporary worker, temporary resident permit holder, and you were a protector person between these dates? If this situation is true for you, you can hit yes, otherwise click no. So I'm hitting yes here. I'm going to take an example, let's say from date April 2nd, 2022 to April 1st, 2023 as a temporary resident in Canada before PR. Okay, then here choose the situation. Let's say I'm just going to use temporary worker. You can choose any example which fits in your situation. For example, temporary worker, and I'm going to take an example of April 2nd, 2022 here. 2022 April, hit the date here, and for example the next date was 2023. I'm just going to take your example, so you need to enter these dates according to your situation. Okay, so I'm gonna add this entry. So we clicked on that, so we entered one entry here. If let's say you enter wrong information, you can always modify it by click on here modify and change the dates which you want to fill. Otherwise you can remove it or you can add a new entry. Okay, so now hit calculate here. Now next it is going to ask you, did you spend the time serving a sentence for an offense in Canada? Example, term of imprisonment, conditional sentence, probation, and parole. If this situation is true to you, then you can hit yes, otherwise no. So I'm just going to hit here no, click on submit, and here I'm going to take an example next, click continue, and then next it is going to ask you, did you leave Canada between these dates? Answer yes if you left Canada before any reason, including a vacation, work, business, family matters, school. So if yes, let's say take an example of 2 trips. So I'm gonna hit here yes to fill in entries of those trips, click submit, and then enter the dates here. So in first example, I'm going to fill the example of trip 1, which is, for example, December 10 to 2024. You can here enter your destination countries. For example, I'm gonna fill here first. Let's say my first trip was India. Fill in these examples, these dates according to your own situations. So here I'm going to fill, for example, my first trip 2024, December 10th, and I returned on 2024, in 2024, December 20th. This is the first trip here. Let's say reason, you can fill any. For example, I would say family visit. Click on here add absence, and then if, because we are taking here the second example of a trip 2, so I'm going to fill in here, for example, which country you visited. So for example, I'm going to fill Australia, and then I'm going to fill here 2025 August. I'm going to fill here 2025 August, date 5, and then let's say that a trip was till August 12th, 2025, August 12th. A reason, for example, I'm going to fill in here vacations. Okay, and I'm going to fill in here. Then if you're done, so enter each trip carefully with the correct departure and return dates. Okay, now the next, when you're done with all the information here, before clicking calculate, check all the dates carefully, like your application date, PR date, pre-PR period, all trips outside Canada. Now, you need to click on the calculate button here. click on here. As you can see, the dates which we filled here. So this is showing you as per those filled dates results here. So after, the calculator will show the total number of days while we hit calculate. So if now you can see if the total is 1095 days or more, that means the person meets the physical presence requirement. If it is less than that, the person should wait before applying. Okay. So this was how you can calculate here. So at the end, you can take the printout of this page and you can send this with that paper application which you are going to fill for your citizenship. So that's how to use a physical presence calculator on Canada.ca with a very simple example. The main things you need are your application date, PR date, and all trips outside Canada. I hope this full video helped you clearly understand the physical presence calculator for Canadian citizenship. If this video made the process easier for you, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who is preparing for Canadian citizenship. And remember, a strong citizenship application starts with accurate preparation. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.